Hello.
Okay, welcome. Good morning
Good
to this
morning.
guest mentor session, Bralade for Earth at the Married Midwives Challenge. Thank you, everyone, for joining in today. Thank you for such an amazing time. You know, we've always spoken about being thriving in a difficult marriage, and we've been going step by step. And one of the critical things we needed to learn, especially for women going through difficult marriage, is how to effectively draw boundaries and still be able to engage in that marriage relationship. And we have such a powerful woman. She is a woman with so much substance on this topic. She's a vibrating container of
Woo!
boundaries in marriage. Trust me, she has boundaries movement, she has everything boundaries, and she's so passionate about
Yeah.
helping us understand how to draw boundaries where you start and where he starts, and then be able to help us decipher how to
Mhm.
still engage in the relationship while drawing boundaries around the relationship so that everybody is able to live wholly and fully. And then I want to introduce the many parts of my Braxy. I love to call her Braxy. Please forgive me. This
You
is
guys
me
are
putting my
like you have the
personal
cocoa now
person.
because Braxy is for my special people.
Bralade Koroye Emenenjo is a coach. She's a leader. She's a speaker. She's a minister. And she's an author. She majors on the topics of boundaries, leadership, and culture. She's the very founder of the Boundaries Movement and the Preach What You Practice Media, home of the PWYP book series, the podcast, and the academy. She has a book, A Line in the Sand. It's a best-selling short story collection. And you know, we love storytelling. It's a story collection on boundaries because stories have a way of impacting fast. This is her debut book, and she's got a signature coaching program, Boundaries Bootcamp, that equips women to set healthy boundaries so they can live fully and love freely. Bralade has studied and she has worked across 3 continents in a diversity of professional and ethnic cultures. She's a current Fortune 100 engineering operations leader. She's a fellow engineer and an ardent gender advocate. She hosts the STEM Freak podcast produced by Ebony Podcast Network. On it, she features women of color making a difference in science, technology, engineering, and maths. She makes her home in Houston, United States, with her 3 kids and her husband, Mr. Obioha. Please join me as I welcome our powerful person, Bralade. Thank you so much, Bralade. It's such an honor to have
Thank
you. Such an
you.
honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am the one who's really honored. The work that you're doing with women in difficult marriages
Thank you.
is close to the heart of the Father. Let me put
Thank
it that way
you.
because God cares about his daughters, and I appreciate you having this bringing me on to talk about boundaries because the conversation isn't complete till we have boundaries discussion, right? All right. Thank you so much, BDA, and we will get started. Okay, so I want you to give me your open hearts. You want me to take you off or will you stay on?
You can take me off and then I'll come in
You'll
once you're
come
done.
back in. Okay, great.
Thank you.
I want you to keep your mind completely open. I want you to be alert. Just be like, okay, what am I going to learn today? That's how I want you to open your heart. Do not bring in what has happened in the past. Don't bring in what you've heard. Just be like, God, like my heart is open, my mind is free. I want to learn from your word. And I believe you have something for me here today. And I will use whatever insights, whatever instructions you drop in my heart. I won't be afraid. I will walk with courage to set these boundaries that you're leading me to do. You can say amen wherever you are. That's a short prayer as well as a heart preparation that I just did for you. Today, I will be giving you premium content because this is for my brand new book that will be debuting in September 9th. Yes, it's called A Tale of Two Wives. And that book specifically addresses two wives that were in difficult marriages. I'm not talking about two wives that one was in a happy marriage and then the other one was in a not so happy. No, they were both in difficult marriages. But guess what? They manifested in different ways. I always like to say, this difficulty we talk about in marriage is a spectrum. Anyone who is married has experienced some difficulty. I know you have, because it's just what life. That's what it is. It is life, because by the time two people are getting together, learning of each other, you know, and adjusting, there's some level of difficulty that we anticipate. But when it has gone all the way to the other end of the spectrum, how do you know? How do you know when you are in a difficult marriage, and what kind of boundaries do you set in those instances? So I will take you on two women's marriages. Okay. Acts chapter 1, Acts chapter 5, rather, verse 1. In fact, you know what, BDA, I want you to be my Bible reader. You know how they do in those churches where somebody will be reading and the pastor will be talking. So I'll bring BDA back up. BDA, if you
Okay.
open Acts chapter 5, don't worry, I'll take you back off again. Acts
Okay.
chapter 5, and I'll take you through the very first woman that will be profiling. A woman less known. I asked a couple of people, do you know Sapphira? Do you know Sapphira? And many people couldn't
Mm,
quite get it. And then once you just say Ananias and Sapphira, they're like, yeah, I know them. Because what? There is something that happens indelibly to your identity when you're married, because it's like you are inextricably connected to another person that becomes
mhm,
part of your identity.
mhm,
That means if the person is a blessed person, it robs of you. And
mhm,
if the person is a cursed person, or whatever some of those consequences are that the person's identity brings, the person's actions and behavior, it starts to affect you, right? So carry on with this Acts chapter 5. But I want you to know today, I'm not one of those people who say choose right and no, because this is not the setting. Choose right is for people who are single. So, what do you tell people who are already in these difficult instances? Does the Bible not have a word for them? I want to assure you today that there's a word for you, there's purpose for you. It is not, oh, you just said your vows and you are doomed, because people say that a lot. If you marry the wrong person, you are doomed.
mhm,
Yes, there can be some difficulty, but there is no situation unsalvageable. There's no purpose, there's no life that God cannot save. The one who sent one son to die for the whole world. You think a difficult marriage stokes him? No, he's not confused. It's not something that he cannot handle. And he showed us in these two women's stories what you can do. All right. So BDA, start from Acts chapter 1, King James Version.
Okay. But a man named Ananias with his wife Sapphira sold a piece of property.
I want you
However,
to just note, I'll be interrupting you like this. He
that's
said,
fine.
a man named Ananias. That means this story was about the man named Ananias. It was not a couple named Ananias and Sapphira. Many times in some other places, the Bible will say Priscilla and Aquila. It will say this person and that person. It would join them together.
Mm,
But when it came to this story, it
mm.
mentioned specifically a man named Ananias. And then that was when he said with, right? So that's an addition. So carry on, please.
However, he kept back part of the proceeds
No, after with his wife, what was it?
with his wife's knowledge,
Okay.
right? And
No,
brought
I
the
think start
portion
from the
again.
start again. Start from verse 1 again, and we'll take it from there.
But a man named Ananias with his wife Sapphira sold a piece of property.
Mm.
However, he kept back part of the proceeds with his wife's knowledge.
He did what?
He he kept back part of the proceeds.
He did not say they. Did it say they?
No,
They say he kept it back. But what?
with his
With
wife's
his wife's
knowledge.
knowledge. That means the wife was privy to that information. They did not say she decided. They did not say they agreed together to decide. Some versions try to put it in that way, but when I read it through the original translations, I know it said with his wife's knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like right now in the house, you ask, someone in the house, what did you see BDA wearing? Say, oh, she was wearing black. With
Well,
their knowledge, you were wearing black. It doesn't mean that they chose
it shows.
that you
Yeah.
should wear black. Okay, continue, please.
And brought a portion of it and laid it at the apostles' feet.
This was still Ananias that was doing all these things. Carry on.
Then Peter said, Ananias, why has Satan filled your heart to lie to the Holy Spirit and keep back part of the proceeds from the field?
So this is a man doing something egregiously foolish. You know how sometimes you're like, and that's how he always does. But you
Mm,
don't realize that this particular one is
mm,
critical. It is a
mm,
matter of discernment, but it is also a matter of when you have become numb
mm,
to bad
mm,
behavior,
mm, mm,
when you have become so, it's so normal.
mm,
You'll be like, oh, is he only that's what he did now? You don't know what he has done before. So, if
mm,
it's that one, so it's almost like your conscience has been seared with hot iron. It doesn't mean you no longer think this thing is wrong,
mm,
but you're just like, you're just lethargic because they're like, I can't fight every fight.
mm,
But you don't know the one that is about to make your children an orphan. You
mm,
make your children orphans.
mm,
You don't know. And the reason you don't know is because those are the things that were happening before. You did not address them. So you are no longer used to challenging.
mm, mm.
Okay, continue.
Then wasn't it yours while you possessed it? And after it was sold, wasn't it at your disposal? Why is it that you plant this thing in your heart? You have not lied to men, but to God.
Mhm.
That's verse
So
4.
this was Ananias' judgment. And you see, I love it when the Bible talks about how we'll all give account. It didn't even say families will move together. At least God should have just had conscience. Somebody you spend your whole life with, we should work together.
Mm,
We're always together. He said, no, one by one, not even
mm,
mother with father. So
mm,
Ananias came by himself, and there was a judgment meted out to him.
mm,
I know that you want to save your spouse and all of these things, but there is a judgment for each of us, and this goes for if it's the wife that is
mhm,
exhibiting that bad behavior, if it's a spouse, if it's a husband,
mm,
it goes both ways. If you're a wife, you go and shoplift in a store and you
mm,
are arrested. Why does it have to be both the husband and the wife that should be jailed? Right?
mhm,
So I'm just letting you know that individually we are the ones who give account, not as
mhm,
a couple. All right,
mm.
continue.
When he heard this word, Ananias dropped dead, and a great fear came on all who heard.
Continue.
The young men got up, wrapped his body, carried him out, and buried him. There was an interval of about 3 hours. Then his wife came in, not knowing what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, Peter asked her, did you sell the field for this price? Yes, she said, for that price.
After 3 hours, I was looking at, and I've just been looking at some of these things prophetically, right? Why didn't it say after a while, after some
Mm,
time? Why did it specifically mention after 3 hours? And I was
mm,
looking at the biblical connotations of 3 hours, and it is a number of completion when you think of things like the Holy Trinity,
mm,
Father, Son, and spirit. When you look at spirit, soul, and body, all of those things, it's a number of
mhm,
completion, it's a number of perfection. So
mm,
that means that there was, God gave her time. He didn't say, oh, the person must come right. No, he gave her time.
mm,
So the thing had now mounted. So right now you're going through a difficult marriage. There are some actions your spouse is taking that you know that is anti-God or even
mm,
antithetical to your family.
mm,
But because you're so tired, sometimes I hear people say, BDA, that those mothers that their husbands molest their own children. How are
mm,
they able? What kind of evil woman is that? Look,
mm.
let me tell you, that woman feels she's just as powerless as the one who their husband is doing advanced fee fraud, aka 419. Or the one that feels like, oh, he lies at work to come into work. He will say he's on the way, but he's still at home. Because you think that there's a balance of the lies, but you don't know how is this thing about to affect my family. All right, continue. So that's the God gave time. So right now you're in that space and you haven't yet taken action. I want you to know that there is a time that is coming and I want you to act before that time. I'll be teaching you how to act, but know that there is a season God is going to give that you can act. And beyond that, the consequences will be so grave, it might even touch you. All right, continue.
Then, okay, verse 9.
Mm-hmm.
Then Peter said to her, "Why did you agree to test the Spirit of the Lord?"
No, no, before that.
Okay, before that.
After the 3 hours, what?
Okay, verse 8 now. "Tell me," Peter asked her, "did you sell the field for this price?"
Did
"Yes,"
you
she said.
hear? She still had a chance. What else? Today you're listening to BDA and myself. You've been here at all the other. There is a chance. Direction is coming. Insights are coming. All these things are coming. Are you going to respond to them? It might be a stitch in time that will save nine. All right, carry on.
Then Peter said, she said, "Yes," she said, "for that price." Then Peter said to her, "Why did you agree to test the Spirit of the Lord? Look, the feet of those who have buried your husband
Hi.
are at the door, and they will carry you out."
Why did you agree? You know, somebody said silence. I think Martin Luther King said it. Silence is complicit. You can't say, oh, the white people are killing the black people and you're a white person. That was what was happening in his day. And you're a white person and you don't want to put your mouth. You are just as guilty as the people who are perpetrating this evil. I mean, well, if it's we heard Sister Safira die because her husband, they will be like, and the woman was just trying. Oh, what is it so far in your marriage that you have gone along with
Mm,
in the name of let peace reign?
mm,
Let peace reign. I don't want to rock the boat. Even we now, we will honor Safira. We'll be like, whatever your husband does, stand by him. Maybe later
mm,
at home, you can sort it out. My sister, you may not have later at home.
mm,
You may be buried right there. Your children do something wrong in school. The teacher is explaining to you, but you have excellent children. And you will couch it in the word of God because I don't want to say anything bad about my child. But your child is a bully and is beating everybody up. But you are ready to challenge the whole school
mm,
because your child cannot be labeled a bully.
mm,
What good are you doing for that child? Whenever you excuse someone, whenever you absolve anyone, your friend, your sister, your mother, whoever it is, of accountability of how they treat you or how they live their lives in such a way that it could impact you, you are just as complicit as if you were the one doing that action. I want you to bear that in mind. All right, we're going to 1 Samuel chapter 25 now. And you see a difference between someone who was just had as he just maybe an even worse husband, right? And how in her grace, because I know as Christian women, there's a way we want to appear, there's a way we've been socialized to think, and you're like, I'm not really the fighting type.
mm,
I want to tell you that there's a space between fighting and setting boundaries. Setting boundaries is not fighting.
mm.
Your voice does not need to increase by 1 decibel. No. Okay. Samuel chapter 25. It's a much longer version, but I want to give you a little overview before she gets into it. So David was, in fact, what is interesting is that David, between chapter 24 and chapter 26, him and Saul were doing this cat and mouse game where Saul was looking for him and he will see Saul and he will refuse to kill Saul and all of that drama. So David was that man who, even though he could kill, even though he could do this, he knew that God did not want him to avenge himself, right? So he was watching, he was in one of those mountains where he was hiding and he was watching all the sheep of his whole area. And he helped Nabal, a man called Nabal. His own servants were there with their cattle and their sheep and their goats. So he helped the servants. But when the servants were going, he now said, later the servants went, right? Then David sent his own servants to go and meet that man because, we're all in the same area and you have money and stuff. My men need food. Can you send us some food? I'm David. Like David was a popular somebody. Everybody loved him. I'm David. Me and my men are here. You know what this neighbor told this man? Okay. Read from verse, read from verse, read from verse 10. Okay, read from verse 5 and just go by real quick. Verse 5, real quick.
So David sent 10 young men, instructing them, "Go up to Carmel, and when you come to Nabal, greet him in my name. Then say this: Long life to you, and peace to you, to your family, and to all that is yours. I hear that you're sharing when your shepherds when your shepherd herds were with us, we did not harass them.
Hmm?
Nothing of theirs was missing the whole time they were in Carmel. Ask your young men, and they will tell you. So let my young men find favor with you, for we have come on a feast day. Please give whatever you can afford to your servants and to your son David." David's young men went and said all these things to Nabal on David's behalf.
Please tell
And
us
David,
what neighbor told them. Carry on.
Nabal asked them, "Who is David? Who is
How?
Jase's son?" Many slaves these days are running away from their masters. Am I supposed to take my bread, my water, and my meat that I butchered for my shearers and give them to this man? I don't know where they are from.
Are you
David's
here?
men.
So anyway, basically, I can imagine some of you. I've heard this, and it breaks my inner soul. Your husband insults your father, he insults your grandfather to their face. I'm not saying in your bedroom. And when he finishes, you're begging him, and you're saying, now he was just, like complete rebel, complete foolishness. Every day is either fighting with his boss, has a problem with authority, has a problem even with his friends. Nobody can talk to him. You cannot, in all good conscience, enable that behavior. Now, I'm not saying fight or don't fight, but don't be afraid to say this is wrong. It is wrong, right? So I'm just setting the stage for you because maybe your husband does not have sheep and goats. So carry on. When David's men went back and all those things in verse 13, David was like, what is happening here? Who insulted me? Because David said, who is David? Because David had honor for his name. Do you understand?
Yeah,
Do you see when he sent his servants, do you see the level of
yeah,
honor
yeah.
he added to the message? They didn't go there and say, David has demanded of your sheep. No,
Mm.
he had more men than Nabal. He could have done that, but that was a man of honor. Anyway, go and read from verse 14 now.
One of Nabal's young men
So
informed
David now,
Abigail.
sorry, read from verse 13 because David now went to gear up.
Okay, I can just read from
When
12.
those servants told David, David just went there and gathered about 400 men and carried
Okay,
his sword and was now about to go.
okay.
But read from verse 14.
One of Nabal's young men informed Abigail, Nabal's wife, "Look, David sent messengers from the wilderness to greet our master, but he yelled at them. The men treated us well. When we were in the field, we weren't harassed, and nothing of ours was missing the whole time we were living among them. They were a wall around us, both day and night, the entire time we were heading the ship. Now consider carefully what you must do, because there is
Hey,
certain to be
that's
trouble."
what we are doing here today, for you to
Yeah.
consider carefully because you will do something. Doing something is not it's not out of the question. You will, must, should do something. But what we're here to do is to consider what is that action I should take. All right, continue.
They were a Now consider carefully what you must do, because there is certain to be trouble for
Hey,
our master and his entire family. He is such a worthless fool, nobody can talk to him.
so this thing now, I'm sure some of you are hearing it and you're like, it's not a lie. It's not a lie. And some of you, maybe people have come to tell you, look what he did, though. And you are like, people that are looking for the end of my marriage. Or you are thinking to yourself, why would somebody come? If somebody comes to report your husband to you, that you can't be a disloyal wife. You're hearing all these things. Today, what did I tell you from the beginning? Harden not your heart. Because if you continue like this, trouble is bound to be. If you took one slap, tomorrow your leg might be broken. If you take a broken leg, tomorrow your children might be motherless. As in, I don't know if you pursued one house girl, one housemaid, because your husband was after her, next tomorrow he might rape somebody. And I'm using difficult cases because yours may not be at this level, right? If tomorrow he says, this is where I'm trying to pick an example. Submit all your salary to me, do all this to me. If I'm not the one making the decision, you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything, you can't visit your family without me. It's just small. It's line upon line, precept upon precept. And the minute something prickles your heart, like, this thing is not quite aligned with my values, what I know to be true. Consider what carefully, because we are not people that act impulsively. We're angry, resentful. Then one day the person just says one thing and you just blow up. No, that's not somebody who considers carefully. Okay, so they came to tell Abigail this thing. And before they had described Abigail in verse 3, they said she was a woman of good understanding, is the same word for discernment, and she was beautiful. So you will be both beautiful and what?
Discerning.
Of discernment. Anyway, so they have now told him, and they say your husband does not listen. Some of us take pride. My husband does not listen to anybody. If God instead does not speak to him, and you are having mind, you are beating your chest because that was the attitude he used when his mother was against your marriage. That was the attitude he used to prevail. So now you are honoring it as a good thing. Think carefully. Okay. Read from verse 18. Just that
Abigail
first.
hurried. Taking,
She did what? She did what?
she hurried.
She did not say, let me wait 5 years. They say new marriages, this is how it starts. She made haste. All right, continue.
Taking 200 loaves of bread, 2 skins of wine.
So she took a lot of gifts and things like that. And go to verse 19.
Then she said to her male servants, go ahead of me, I will be right behind you.
Mm.
But she did not tell her husband Nabal.
When you know who you're dealing with, when you know who you are dealing with, there's a way to approach the person. And I will tell you that right at the end. There's a way to approach who is reasonable, and there's a way to approach who is unreasonable. Everybody does something wrong at some point. I'm not talking about, your spouse should never do something that is not unwise. No, but there's a way, somebody who, when light comes, there's a way they respond, and there's somebody who, it does not matter how brightly you light up this place, they will still argue with you that this red shirt is a white shirt. All right, continue. Read from verse, read verse
20.
9, read verse,
20.
yeah,
I
read
stopped at
verse
19.
21, sorry, and 22, because I want to tell you the gravity of what was about to hit her household. Verse 21 and 22.
David had just said, I guarded everything that belonged to this man in the wilderness for nothing. He was not missing anything, yet he paid me back evil for good. May God punish me and do so severely if I let any of his men survive until morning.
Please, have you heard David swear before and David did not do it?
Never. David would do what he said he would do.
It's like your husband goes to slap the inspector general of police. Even you would just be like, okay, I will meet you at the hospital. Do you understand? Like, this is the level. So we're not talking about something small. But what is amazing is that he was not telling Abigail. How did she discern? You should be able to discern. We're women of discernment. Even what he might think he's doing in jest, you should be able to discern that, this one is different too. You know what I mean? All right. So continue. When she got there in
When
verse
Abigail
23. Yeah.
when Abigail saw David, she
And just read
quickly
through that next 4 verses real fast.
Okay, she quickly got off the donkey and fell with her face to the ground in front of David. She fell at his feet and said, "The guilt is mine, my lord.
Hi.
Please let your servant speak to you
Look,
directly."
I need to say something there. The guilt is mine. When we intercede, because I don't know how you've been praying. Even if you are in prayer, you are calling for the judgment of God, you are reporting somebody to God. No, there's a way you come to stand, especially when you have noticed that evil through this person, even though it's through this person, but it's about to visit all of us. When you take your place in intercession, you become like Jesus. You take the guilt, you take the blame. You say, put it on my head, I will carry it. Do you see how she opened David's? Because David is wanting to say, like, I don't understand. Like, why are you, who are you? Like, you didn't even start out by telling me. And you will see later she will speak. So she didn't just say the guilt is all mine. But when you stand in action like that, your child has done something. The first thing you say is, I'm so sorry he hurt your child. You're not there to say, but what did he say to him? Start from the one you have seen first. If you know something is wrong, it's wrong. Don't say, my daughter insulted you. Well, what did you do? No, start from there. Own it, and then we can address other things on the back end. This is leadership. This is lead because the man was not able to take over the headship because we think submission is somebody telling us exactly what to do. No, it's the willingness to take the leader, the mantle, the responsibility for this household upon yourself. The Bible says that unto him who's able to present us blameless, faultless. That means Jesus Christ took up all these things and said, I will present to God. So, how will you present your household? Okay, carry on.
But please let your servant speak to you directly. Listen to the words of your servant. My lord should pay no attention to this worthless man Nabal, for he lives up to his name.
Did she lie and say, my husband that time it was not in a good mood? Because some of us we give excuses. In fact, our spouses no longer need to give excuses because why? We are the ones giving excuses. You see, Barbie, we are giving it even in front of the counselor, the therapist that wants to help us. We are giving excuses because we think that's loyalty. That's not loyalty. That's enablement. There's a woman that she didn't go when they told her she didn't go and meet neighbor. How could you? No. But here she was judging the situation rightly. This is actually how it happened. I'm not going to lie on this matter. All right, continue. Worthless neighbor.
Okay. His name is Nabal, and stupidity is all he knows. I, your servant, didn't see my lord's young men whom you sent.
So she said why she did not do, it's not like I would have intervened if I was even there, but I was not there. This is somebody who had taken blame more, but now she's explaining how it happened. When you take that blame, you are opening the door, for the person's heart to receive the rest of what you have to say. So verse 27.
Accept this gift your servant has brought to my lord, and let it be given to the young men who follow my lord.
That gift that neighbor refused to give, she's doing. Some of you now, your husband is no longer sending his parents money. You are like, that's his business. Me, I'm sending my own money. Anything they want to do. No. She took this upon herself and said, you won't send, I will send them money. Because it's the right thing to do. We are not going to take that curse upon our head because whatever affects you affects me inadvertently. Okay. Verse 28.
Please forgive your servant's offense, for the Lord is certain to make a lasting dynasty for my Lord,
Hey.
because
Continue.
he fights the Lord's battles throughout your life. May evil not be found in you. When,
Continue.
when someone pursues you and attempts to take your life, my Lord's life will be tucked safely in the place where the Lord your God protects the living. However, he will fling away your enemies like stones from a sling. When the Lord does for my Lord all the good he promised and appoints you ruler over Israel, there will be not a remorse or a troubled conscience for my Lord because of needless bloodshed or my Lord's revenge. And when the Lord does good things for my Lord, may you remember me, your servant.
Are you seeing positioning? Abigail was at the same time. She chastised him in the midst of this. Because she's like, it's the Lord that avenges you. I know you have heard your story. And she was a prophetic woman. So she knew that this man, God was going to avenge him. Don't come and truncate your blessing. And in both ways, she was speaking to two husbands, because some of us, we have a reasonable husband, but we have not really spoken on, because we're like, I don't want to be in his bad books. You understand? Everybody else around him is a yes person. So let me just join, even though I know that this deal is, this thing, or I know that him having this side chick is not good. But it's like everybody's okay with it. I don't want to be the one that is now fighting this matter. Oh, he slapped me. Have you seen what he did to his sister? He beat her to pulp. And you don't really want to be the one. But Abigail was speaking to David. David was making an error, right? David was he doing something right? He wasn't doing something right. But that was a man that could be reasoned with. He could be spoken to. And there's a way you speak to a reasonable husband. Like I said, it doesn't mean that they are not going to make some wrong decisions, but how do you approach them? Do you go shouting? Abigail came with gifts. She came with validation. She started with, this thing I'm saying, maybe nobody else has told you, and I apologize that I'm the bearer of bad news. Like there's a way you come in. And then she started telling him based on his identity, you are the one that God has this. You are the one that God has that. Look, if I come to BDA now and I say, BDA, you're the most gorgeous person on earth. You're the this. Look at your shirt. Look at your this. But I noticed that you don't normally use scarves. They're really, or brooches. They're really nice when you pin them to your shirt. I will encourage you. Do you understand? Like there's a basis. Not when I come and say, maybe you look like there's something wrong. And then I now suggest the brooch. She will never want to see a brooch in her life. So Abigail followed both sides. And I want you to carry on, please. The final 31. So this was the consequence that she was telling him. Avoid this thing that is coming your way. Don't, because of anger now, go and do this thing. Read verse 31.
Okay, 31 again. There will not be remorse or a troubled conscience for my Lord because of needless bloodshed or my Lord's revenge. And when the Lord does good things for my Lord, may you
So
remember
that
me.
was the consequence that she was telling him. Don't do this thing. It's not just because of my life or all these things. No. Because some of us, whenever we speak to our husbands, is when there's something in it for us. The rest of the time, let him go and kill himself. But now we have seen that this thing is about to affect our vacation in Hawaii. So now we want to give advice and counsel. No, don't be that person. So she took it from beyond her. It's not that I just want my husband to live. No, I want you to do the right thing, David, because this is the word of the Lord concerning you. Go on to what David said, because this is what reasonable men are supposed to do. All right, verse 32.
Then David said to Abigail, praise to the Lord God of Israel, who sent you to meet me today. Your discernment is blessed, and you are blessed. Today you kept me from participating in bloodshed and
Time.
avenging myself by my own hand. Otherwise, as surely as the Lord God of Israel lives, who prevented me from harming you, if you had not come quickly to meet me, Nabal wouldn't have had any men left by morning light.
Mm.
Then David accepted what she had brought him and said, go home in peace. See, I've heard what you said and I've granted your request.
Because of time, I won't continue. If you get the book later, there's so many codes of communication in here that are outlined. But again, you see that even David, and I'm like, is it not surprising you how he received counsel? Why? Because she came wisely. If you come wisely, if you come graciously, look, let me tell you, people will own up to their mistakes. They will tell you it's true. I was about to make a mistake. They will tell you that. But it's about how do you have these conversations. Remember, this was a woman that did not even tell her husband something. That means you knew that this one, it does not matter how I come, he know the hear word. He has the inability to hear word. So she was able to discern. Sometimes when you're reasoning with, you just sound like sounding cymbals. Your words don't matter. Those ones, you don't treat them the way you treat the ones that are reasonable. You don't reason with them that way. Something instructive in verse 36. I want you to see just the emotional intelligence of this woman. Read verse 36, please.
Then Abigail went to Nabal, and there he was in his house, holding a feast fit for a king. Nabal was in a good mood and very drunk, so she did not say anything to him until morning light.
How are you reasoning with a man that is coming out from beer parlor? Look, let me tell you something. Whenever I'm starting to get upset or angry, I check myself and say, what is that thing that is going to a space where only God and my loved ones go? If you see me in worship, I'm undone.
Mm.
You may never see me crying in normal life. In this life, you may never see me crying. But if I lift my hands up like this, if I just lift my hands up, the love just floods my soul.
Mm.
Sometimes I might be watching even a TV drama and I see the nobility of man, maybe somebody giving their lives for someone else. It makes me cry. Why? Because for me, it's prophetic.
Mm.
But that my husband did me something and I'm crying, hiya. What happened? That's a place that my heart should not go. My heart, anybody that is taking me to that place, I'll be like, wait, hold up, hold up. We need to reevaluate what is going on here. It is not normal for you to wet your pillow with tears every night, my sister. It is not normal for you to harbor such anger and grief in your heart every day. It is not normal for the lens of your love to be tainted with this level of bitterness. Take a pause and be like, I'm not supposed to be here. When I hear moms shouting on their children, I like that kind of, that kind of, I'm like, how do you allow children to get to this place? I'm not saying children are not important, but no child of mine can come and have me frazzled to the point that I start to act out of character, because my character is a woman of discernment, of graciousness. There's peace in my borders. There's a way I do not show up. So what is causing you to act like this person? Abigail went there. You think she did not have gist? All the thing that happened, was it not gist? But she went back and she was like, this man is drunk. If you watch Nollywood, she will come and be hitting her husband. You don't know you almost killed us today. Why not? He said he's
Mm.
drunk. Like, and guess what? She slept. The Bible did not say she was tossing and turning. Stop worrying. Stop affecting your mental and physiological health because of what is going on in your marriage. You have your health to be concerned about. Okay, next verse.
It says, in the morning, when Nabal sobered up, his wife told him about these events. Then he had a seizure and became paralyzed. About 10 days later, the Lord struck Nabal dead.
She now told him the next morning when she saw that it was now calm, it was normal. And you see, these 10 days, I went again and read it. And these 10 days, do you know that it's the twin of the number three? It is like the perfect completion. This again is the amount of time that God gave. Because if you notice in both of them, they mention times. There are many opportunities. And they did not say what Abigail has been intervening on before. But I don't think Abigail just woke up only this time. Do you think so?
Now,
She must have been intervening long before, where it's
yes,
like, and judgment
for
has
even the
reached.
servants to come and approach
Mhm.
new.
So anyway, read verse 40.
When David's servants came to Abigail at Carmel, they said
No,
to her,
sorry, read verse 39.
when David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, praise the Lord who championed my cause against Nabal's insults and restrained his servant from doing evil. The
He
Lord
even
brought,
started attributing Abigail to God. There are some prophetic words you will give your husband. They will be like, this woman, God is speaking through her. Continue.
the Lord brought Nabal's evil deeds back on his own head. Then David sent messengers to speak to Abigail about marrying him. When David's servants came to Abigail at Carmel, they said to her, David sent us to bring you to him as a wife. She stood up, then bowed her face to the ground and said, here I am, your servant, to wash the feet of my Lord's servants. Then Abigail got up quickly and with her 5 female servants accompanying her, rode on the donkey following David's messengers, and so she became his wife.
Wonderful. So basically, Abigail was judging David almost as much as David was judging her. So see how she, maybe if you're still dating and stuff and you are testing somebody to see how do they respond to counsel. And she saw that, if I bring counsel right, if it's aligned with his purpose, his destiny, whatever prophecy God had given him before, he's going to do it. Do you understand? Even though he gets angry. eventually he listens, he does
Mhm.
the right thing.
Mhm.
Those are the kind of people you want to work with. So long as somebody is not in that space, you cannot pretend that everything is okay. You're going to both pray and work. Prayer is one of the strategies. Prayer is what wets the ground. Do you understand? For your action. Because no matter how much you water the ground till you plant a seed, and the Bible says the word is a seed. You know what broke my heart? When I was writing this book, I was looking at the name, definitions of name. Abigail's name is the father's joy. This was a woman that knew God, that knew where she was from. Do you understand? So she didn't have any broken identity. And Sapphira's name on the surface means beauty. And when you look at Sapphira, she must have been this gorgeous slave queen wife who my husband is like, my wife doesn't quarrel with me. We have not fought for the last 10 years. Why? Because she goes along with everything you say. She's celebrated by her husband and the people around. But guess what? It's a difficult husband. So even though you are being celebrated, it doesn't mean that you're not enabling evil. So Sapphira's name, when I search deeper, it means a sapphire stone. Apart from its beauty, those days it was used for writing. And they said the root word sapphire, which is where the name sapphire came from, was for printing, for proclaiming, for telling. This was an instrument of telling words, either by writing or speaking. And this was a woman, what did you hear her say in the Bible? The only time you heard her speak was to lie for her husband. That was the only time. She didn't speak. Look at how short that Acts chapter 5, the account is, and look at how long Abigail's one is. So you might feel like you're going through trouble, you're going through this thing because you keep speaking up, and it's like other people, they look like they're at peace. Guess what? She might be a Sapphira enabling her husband, and you are an Abigail, handling servants, settling the disputes, and coming back to a drunk man. But my sister, I want you to know that you will prevail. You are actually prevailing, but it is not yet manifest to all men. Abigail was a woman that wasn't frazzled. Abigail was a woman who had three things. She had agency. She knew what to do in every season. She had the power to choose. She was not frazzled by circumstances. She was a woman who even the male servants could trust to be a leader. So you are somebody that you can marshal resources and choose a course of action and go down it. You have the emotional intelligence to do that. Number one, agency. Number two, boundaries. Look, well, let me take the number three, conviction. Conviction is that what are your values? What is your belief system? Because if you enjoy those proceeds too, along with the husband, you will never stand against him because it's something you don't have the values to help you reason that this thing is wrong. So the third one is boundaries, because when you know that you have agency, the power to act, you're not saying BDA, but what can I do? I'm just a woman and I don't have money. What can no? When you know that you have agency and you have conviction to know that I don't think this thing is right. I think this thing will bring harm to me and my family. You're going to draw the line somewhere. Abigail knew where to draw the line. She was not drawing the line around his drunkenness. You cannot say, you're going out every night to be a parlor to this. Yes, it's wrong. You can speak about that. But you are not in the person's body to hold, you understand? Like, you cannot stop them except from a spiritual place. You can't stop somebody from doing the wrong thing. But what can you do? You can do what Abigail did. You see the one that you're like, your
Mhm.
madness wants to go to killing my whole family and my children and everybody. I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry. And Sapphira was just the reverse of that. She didn't know that one small lie that day was what was going to end their lives. And she eventually saw that David is somebody I could work with. And she had a move on game that was tight. The Bible said that she hastened and got her servants on her. This is when they called for her to come and marry you. Even me, I'm like, Abigail. So some people will be saying, now maybe you are divorced, and some people are saying, how can you just move on so quickly? What is this thing? Or you are breaking off that engagement. And people are like, my girl, move on. If you have heard the voice of the Lord and He's saying, go this way, go with boldness. Okay, she had a move on game that was tight. That's what I wanted to share with you guys today. And we'll have the Bible study out sometime in September. And I think I'll share with this community so you can participate. It'll be an email based Bible study that you should absolutely do with your friends.
Thank you. Wow, 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 wow. Thank you so much, Baxi. I mean, she literally dies. I've never seen scriptures like this. Like, I've always known Abigail's story as one of my core when it comes to difficult marriages and how to.
Mm-hmm.
But even seeing Ananias and Sapphira and understanding what happens when you go through that societal mode of
Mm.
whatever your husband does, you have to,
Mm-hmm.
and always trying to cover up and seeing where it landed her and letting us know that the Lord included this scripture
I'm
in
like,
the same Bible that we are reading. So let's be clear. He
hey.
knew that this would happen in marriages. He knew that you would get to a point where
Mm-hmm.
there would be a husband living in sin, and you
Mm.
need to be able to draw the line between, am I submitting to sin or am I submitting to God? And I
Hey.
need to make a decision on submission to sin or submission to God. And I mean, it's so amazing. Um, Brother, so I have a few questions.
Yeah.
Um, I want to ask, how do you differentiate between drawing boundaries and trying to revenge or making your spouse pay for their
Mm-hmm.
mistake?
Yeah.
Because that's something that I've found to be common. A lot
Yes.
of people are saying, oh, even in their day-to-day relationships, they just say, oh, I've drawn my boundaries, I'm no longer talking to this person.
Yes.
It's not boundaries, that's literally revenge. That's an unhealthy boundary. And so how do people begin
Yeah.
to still engage in the marriage? Not necessarily you have cut off all the whole thing about the marriage, and yet you're saying you're drawing.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
You
That's
know,
my first question.
Abigail was a classic example of that. I mean, Abigail should have just gone and thrown herself at David's feet and said, "He's never, Lord, he's never. Go and kill him." In fact, she shouldn't have gone. She should have said,
Mm.
they are coming to kill neighbor. Wonderful. This is the day of joy. Judgment has come. And in fact, they are killing him. Say, kill him. He has suffered me in this life.
Mm.
Right? But this is a woman that knew that God, there's an account God will have of me if I do not do what is within my power to help protect or save the life of this man, right? So she did not go the revenge route. It would have been very easy. It would have been very easy for her to, do you understand? And then listen to the words she said, how she took the responsibility upon herself. Yet she did not lie that this is who this person is. Then she now went home. Instead of her that day to go and embarrass the man, shout it around everywhere, look at this stupid man. No, she didn't go that route. Because to her, when you are, boundaries are about you, they are not about the other person. And I find that people who always get vengeful are people who have let things keep perpetrating. So now they become bitter. And you see, out of a bitter stream, only bad things can come out. And the anger never works the righteousness of God. If you see me setting boundaries, some people, my cousin says, "My gosh, you're cold, man." It's not cold. It's that I will not let myself go down that path. Abigail acted in such a mechanical way that even you be like, a normal woman, she will first be emotional and stuff. No, when you are setting boundaries, you say, okay, oh, this is what I found that gets me here. How do I stop it in these tracks? So if you never take proactive action, you will take reactive action. So it is about carefully considering what you will do. So in my boundaries boot camp, we normally make a plan. In fact, it's a 6 weeks course, but I tell you the first 3 classes, please don't go and confront anybody because you're still learning what to do, how to do what to do. Because I will never let an ungracious word leave my lips. Right? So the way out of that vengeful behavior is setting boundaries. If you don't set boundaries on the back end of it, you are going to react, and you are going to react in such a way that might even land you in jail
Mm.
because they keep beating you. You now use knife and kill somebody, then you are on newspaper
Mm.
when you should have drawn that boundary since the first shove,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. A second question is, how do you draw boundaries in a scenario where the power play isn't fair? Maybe you're financially dependent
Yeah,
on your husband, and he's doing things that you are uncomfortable with.
but you
You
are
want to draw
dependent.
boundaries, but
Yeah,
the power play is not fair.
Yeah.
And you don't want anybody to use the power play to begin to, although you already are financially abused in terms of
Yeah.
using the finances to bully you. But
Hmm.
how do you still draw boundaries
Yeah.
in that scenario?
You know, something instructive was that Abigail, if you notice, once the servants came to her, she didn't even need David's neighbor's permission to gather all the bread. I mean, go and read those things she did. Even me, I was like, eh? She had all these things, 200 loaves of bread, so many figs, so many. She was a wealthy woman by every standard. When I my book, when I said A Tale of Two Wives, I said agency, boundaries, and conviction is Abigail and Sapphira's story, because I realized there are some boundaries that are ineffective because you don't have agency. And agency means the ability to choose a course of action and having the resources to make it possible. So I don't think there's any excuse for any woman in modern day not to have money, people. If you have a friend that has pursued all your a spouse that has pursued all your friends away, you are divesting yourself of resources. You have been cut off from your family. You're divesting yourself of resources. So don't disempower yourself ever. We are not talking about this in a case so that and the day he does this, then I can have this. No, as a whole person, a person of purpose, a person of identity, God's battle axe. You have an assignment on earth, and all of these things around you, they are not so that you can show your husband. No, they are so that you can fulfill purpose. So even if you're dependent on a good man who you don't have any form of empowerment, you are cheating purpose. You are. So it can be that you both have a business, is your name on it. The other time, someone told me their spouse was buying a house and they didn't put their name on it. Why? Even if it is a wonderful husband, what if he dies? What about your children? And it just shows a lack of honor. So for me, I will come from that angle. So the first thing you want to do is begin to build your agency. And I know I've seen some people, maybe they are millionaire and their husband are billionaire, but they still want those riches. Look, the riches that the is that riches that made Lot's wife look back. Is those riches that made who was it? The Israelites seek for the garlic and the onions. So what you might have may seem small, but God's grace will breathe upon it. And if you need to save you and your children, guess what? You can do something. If your husband refuses to sponsor your business and you can go and borrow 500,000 to start that job, go and start it. Tell the person, I will be paying you back this much every month, but you must do something to empower yourself. If not, you have no agency. You cannot even give any consequence. And how we deal in boundaries with difficult people is with consequences. And I'll end with this one. Boundaries, how you set boundaries. There are three types of people in any relationship. They're wise people, they're foolish people, and they're evil people. Wise people are people you say, oh, BDA, the way you, when you were walking past there, you stepped on me. I don't know if you noticed. And she'll be like, oh, I did. I'm so sorry. She realizes. A foolish person is the person that they hear you, but they minimize what you say, they invalidate what you say. There are people who they step on you, you say, you step them and say, what is it? Look, I say, you're even wearing black shoe. What does it matter? Did they really paying you? Only me. They don't get till you set a consequence. Anytime you step on me, I'm going to step on you back. Or I will not come and sit anywhere you tell me to sit because I'm concerned that you will step on me. So I will not come into your house. There has to be a consequence for that person to take you serious. But guess what? Those type of people, when you say consequence, they'll be like, is it because of this small thing you're doing this? Okay, don't be angry, I'll do it. But they need a consequence to act in that vein. Now, that was David. He was doing something foolish. And no, David was a wise one because he was doing something foolish. And when I say wise, it doesn't mean you always do wise things. It means that you respond to feedback of words. Only words are enough. And the final set are evil people. Evil people are people that seek to harm you. That man that is gaslighting you so that you can come and die and he can take all your wealth. That person that is beating you for no reason, that is doing all these things. That person that is removing you from a family, abusing you, killing your ministry, killing your business, everything. That person seeks to harm you. They say how you deal with those people is lawyers, guns, and police. Go talk to a divorce lawyer. When I say divorce, I don't even mean so that you can divorce. No, what is my stance? These things are they in my name? What do I know? What do you even know about your family finances? and you are in a precarious situation, and you gave him the money for the seed business, is your name there, guns and police. The person wants to harm you, you have to defend yourself. And then the final one, good morning, boo. I'm on a call. At the final one, police. You cannot be hiding somebody. Even his family does not know that something is happening. And they're asking you because you are doing Safira things. You'll not be like, oh no, it's okay. I don't know. I don't understand. Women think that there's a suffering that works out glory. It's not that kind of suffering you think. The kind of suffering is the suffering of Abigail. That kind of suffering that makes you go and talk to this person, makes you come back, hold your peace so that you can talk to him in a moment where you can hear. That's the kind of suffering. Okay, I finished.
Thank you so much, Braxy. I know some of you might be like, Braxy, police care. We're in Nigeria. Don't worry, Braxy is in the United States, so please forgive her.
Lagos State is becoming something
Something.
very wonderful.
No, but they do have, I think it's
Helpline.
domestic violence. In case
Yes.
you're in domestic violence,
Mm-hmm.
there are actually NGOs that now take it up and
FIDA, let
if
me
you
tell you,
need to,
because I've
yeah,
referred
feeder.
people
Yeah.
there. FIDA, a lot of that as well. Especially, sometimes the abuse is not physical. It might be, like you said, financial abuse. I've seen someone who her husband ousted her out of her business, her own business, and took ownership. When I say ousted, I don't mean that she gave him her business, because that would have been submission. No. And when I say submission, that would have been a choice, because that's not necessarily submission, right? A sacrifice is what you decide to do of your own volition. It's not something that is demanded of you. But this person came in his wife's board meeting, Finango, talk to this person, and they voted her out. And both of you are going back to the same house,
That's
Auntie.
envious.
I'm concerned. I'm concerned. So even this thing they call separation, I mean, I've seen a couple who they equally fight. When I say fight, the wife fights him, he fights her, they bite, all those crazy things. And I say, even if both of you, it seems like you are equal on this violence thing, something is broken, and it's better separate now. Because they love each other. They will even tell you they love. It's just when we get in this thing, we just no separate now. You have a friend every time you guys hang out, is gossip and this thing. First separate and say, let's go back to the drawing board and find what those values that we will both share are, and we'll base it on that. Okay.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Braxy,
you.
for such
Thank
an
you.
amazing time. Thank you. We can't thank you
I,
enough.
I think I'll end with this one. Some of you have good husbands, but what you're calling boundaries are your preferences. Maybe your husband is not born again, and you are saying, "Hey, I cannot have any husband that does not go to church. I cannot this." Or the person says they want to go into business, and you're like, "No, you must work. This is a boundary," and you go about reporting everybody. Those things are not boundaries. Those things are issues that you guys should discuss,
Yeah.
right? And you should prevail. A boundary is not, I want my wife to cut her hair, she doesn't want to cut her hair, or want her to keep long. Those are not boundaries. Those are preferences. So deal with it. Even as I talk a lot
Those are
about
not even
boundaries,
things that concern you. Those are their own decisions. So it's not your boundary to place on. No, it's
because
not.
but people think boundary means I should start to control everything I
No,
don't
no,
like. Let
no,
me bring.
at all.
If you notice, Abigail didn't act till it affected her.
Mhm.
Was the part that affects me.
Affects
The
you.
rest is counsel, your advice.
Your
But
advice.
when something now is about to concern you and affect your household, you take decisive actions on those ones. That's where God, that's the example that God showed us from these two. Because Sapphira's children, I don't know why they didn't mention children in any of these stories, but I want you to bear in mind that God didn't even want to color your mind with the children, even if you don't have children. But if you have children, more so, because worst case scenario, your children will be what? Orphans for money that maybe Ananias wouldn't have given you safe. Okay. Thank you so much. I love you all so much.
Thank you
So
for
that you
bringing
have
that
a
balance.
sister in
Yeah.
me, you can DM me. I have a bunch of stories that I have in my book, A Line in the Sand, and I think we'll probably put it in this comment here. But the reason I wrote it is because sometimes you may not know, am I in that situation? Am I not? Go read that book. You'll find out more. And look out for this one coming up.
Ooh, thank you so much, Roxy. Thank
Thank
you. You
you.
guys
God
see
bless
Roxy in the
you.
comment section. Thank you. We love you, Roxy. We
If you
love
have
you.
questions, put it in the
Put
comments. Maybe I'll come
your
back and respond.
questions in the comment section. We'll come back to it. Thank you.
Mhm.